Hi, welcome to the gun room. And we've got a new face. We've got Jay underneath. How are you, Jay?
All good, thanks.
Lauren, she couldn't get enough punishment, so she's come back.
Hi, lovely to be back.
And we've got Nick from the Arsenal Brothers podcast. How are you, Nick?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Tom.
No problem at all. We'll do it. They asked me, why have you got a party hat on? I said, all will be revealed. Well, it's David Seaman's 59th birthday, and it's also Rob Holding's birthday, but he's not 59, he's 27. Just let everyone know that I'm doing this sort of thing in action with podcast. It's epilepsy action. You need to walk 10,000 steps in the month of October. The charity provides support, guidance, and information for people suffering with the condition. You can get involved yourself, or you can look up my Facebook page or go to www.epilepsy.org.uk. What was that? Was it the lift?
That was my emails, I'm afraid.
Was it? I hope it was something good.
I do apologise. No, just work. So
it's not honey.com, is it? Right then, strap in. We're going to be covering the Bournemouth game, the WSL clash against Brighton, as well as a whole host of other tidbits. Lauren's going to bring us up to date with Ajax versus Arsenal in the game tonight. How's it going there, Lauren? Let's just have a bit of Sky stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I put the headset on. I wanted to look the part, Yeah, it's been, to be honest, the first half wasn't very good. We got off to a very slow start and Ajax capitalised on a counter-attack. We went into half-time 1-1. Second half, we're looking a lot better. Kim Little put us back in front with a penalty. So can't really complain, but we'd definitely like to capitalise on a few more chances tonight going into the away fixture next week.
Yeah, we need to get in front, don't we? Just to say that the viewing figures and subscriptions have been growing, and the likes and following for the audio version. So thank you very much for that. There's no Paul tonight, and he won't be with us for a couple of weeks. And also Mitch has left the podcast, but we'd like to thank Mitch for his contributions and everything that he gave us. 18 pods of excellent stuff and contributions. On the 27th of this month, we have a really special guest on the YouTube special. It's Arsenal legend, midfielder, coach, and now author of Arsenal and After. It's Paul Davis, so we're really excited and looking forward to that. If you've got any questions, send them via email. It's an Arsenal thing 4@gmail.com. Right, first let's go to Nick. Let's strap in and get busy. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Nick, about the podcast and how you became an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, I grew up in the States and obviously still live here. Played footy my whole life, played in college, coached for a while, and have been a faithful Arsenal supporter for about half my life now. I remember my mom getting the soccer extension package on our cable TV, and so every weekend I would just watch all day. And here you have to pick a team. It's not geographically based, so you just have to pick a team. And I think I was intrigued by the maroon 02 kits and looked a little more into it and learned more about Arsene Wenger, and I was hooked and have been a faithful follower since then. So about half of my life, and have gone through the ups and the downs, and started the podcast with a couple other friends that I knew from college that are also coaches. And we have 30 episodes at the Arsenal Bros on Twitter with my friends Ben and Kevin. And yeah, we've just really enjoyed having a weekly outlet to chat more about the team that we love and just kind of going through it together. It was funny because we started it after the international break, the last international break last year. So we were flying, and our first 3 episodes were all after losses. And so we can take part of the blame for the downhill end of last season. So forgive us for that. But so far, so good to start this season.
I'm quite superstitious. I've got a particular Arsenal shirt that I can't wear because every time I wear it, they lose. And then I did this bit where I was going to Highbury, and when I went, they lost. So I thought, I'll stay away this week, and they still lost. So I went back and they lost again. So, it's not just me. It's the whole shebang. Thanks for that, Nick. On to the Arsenal game against Bournemouth. No Odegaard. Fabio Vieira was in. Jay, were you happy with the starting 11? Let's just take you through it as Aaron Ramsdale, Kieran Tierney, Gabriel, William Saliba, Ben White, Thomas Partey, Granit Xhaka, Gabriel Martinelli, Fabio Vieira, Bukayo Saka, and Gabriel Jesus. Were you happy with that lineup, Jay?
Yeah, I assume you mean the Brentford game.
Yeah,
not the
yeah.
ball.
Well, we've got so much.
Have you been drinking?
Yeah.
Tom?
Well, I've got a lemonade.
All right.
Yeah.
There's a few.
Did I say? Did I say Bournemouth?
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
Slip of
So
the tongue.
anyway, well, you can edit that out anyway. So yeah, so
No, leave it in. It's real. It's natural. It's organic.
Yeah. So team, obviously we were missing Zinchenko, and so obviously Kieran Tierney. I think we spoke last week, didn't we, about having such a great. Well, you wouldn't really call him a backup, just a different option to slot in. And then obviously Ødegaard as well, missing with a muscular problem. So we got to have a look at Fabio Vieira. I mean, it just shows that our depth has, our strength in depth has obviously improved this season or in the summer. And pleased with the team. Obviously there weren't going to be too many changes defensively. But I said, didn't I, Tom, to Paul a couple of pods ago that, I expected to see a reaction from the United game. And I expected us to sort of dominate Everton. Obviously that game got called off, and I was, obviously like I'm sure the rest of us, super impressed with the way we started, and we just completely dominated from the first whistle and shut Brentford down and quiet in the stadium, silenced the fans, and it was a performance that is super encouraging. We absolutely dominated, and it was great that the lads that came in did so well, especially Vieira. So yeah, I was delighted.
I was a little bit worried because all this stop-start that we were having at the minute, and there's rumours that the North London derby might be called off for a train strike and stuff. And I was kind of a little bit worried that you've got that hangover from a loss, and then you're starting up again. So, Nick, what did you make of the bench? I looked at that bench and I nearly fell over. I mean, it was it was littered with unknown names for a lot of people, including myself.
Yeah, it seems like the bench that we were all hoping for with the Europa League games, but we went a little stronger in that first game against Zurich, but was excited. It's a little concerning this point in the year to have so many guys missing. Nothing seems too major outside of Mohamed El Neni, but to see the names of Matty Smith, Lino Sosa, Waneri, and Roa Walters back, it's a lot of really young guys. I mean, you'd like to think we can handle Brentford and can throw them on as a victory cigar like we did. But yeah, to me, it's a little concerning, just the amount of niggling injuries. And I know Mikel said, I think at the beginning of the season, where he recognized last year when he had to rush guys back and risk them. And we look at Tomiyasu with him coming back and getting the same injury. Yeah, I think I'm a little concerned, just those little injuries, but the games are coming so fast and so heavy that, we don't have time. You just have to throw somebody in there. And I trust that if these guys are ready for the bench, they're ready to play. And I think I was encouraged to see Roa Walters over preseason. He looked tremendous, but we just got to get these guys blooded. It kind of reminds me of the end of last year, how many young guys continued to make the bench, and to get that match day experience. I think there's a lot of value in that. So hoping maybe they get some Europa minutes, and if they need to be called upon, they can at least hold their own. But yeah, I think it's positive, a sign of Hale End just continuing to pump out talent. But yeah, also just a little concerned with just the amount of little injuries there are.
Well, we're going to talk about injuries because it seems to be a popular topic on social media. Ethan Nwaneri. Did I get that right?
Sounds
I've not
good.
practiced. Yeah, it sounded pretty. It sounded pretty fluent, didn't it? What was it? Go on, Jake.
No, I can't do it.
Youngest.
Surely
youngest
the
ever.
15-year-old, that's enough,
Yeah.
isn't it? We all know who you mean.
Yeah, we could do that as well, couldn't we? The
Absolutely.
youngest ever in Arsenal's history. I mean, and I think he'd beaten Cesc Fabregas, who was 16 years and 177 days old. There's two opinions about that bench, Lauren. One was he's an exceptional talent and he's worth putting into the side because he is, and the other one is because the squad is still a bit bare, still a bit thin. What's your thoughts?
I mean, you're not really going to risk it with the 15-year-old if he isn't that good. I mean, okay, yeah, we were in complete control of the game throughout, and he only came on for what, the final two minutes or so. Probably got one touch on the ball. Yeah, you know, like it was never going to make or break the game. Yeah. Yeah. But I don't know, like you're not gonna just have him on the bench for the sake of it, I don't think, especially when, I mean, we see the talent that Hale End produces all the time, the academy, they're going well. You know, he obviously is someone to watch. And I mean, if you look at the other names on the list of the youngest players, we had people like Harvey Elliott. I think he was the last record holder, if you will. He's going well. I think he was 16. I don't know exactly the days. I wasn't paying that much attention, but he was a bit older. I mean, God, I haven't really felt old looking at a footballer before until I was like, oh my God. It really hit me then. It really hit me then. But going back to the point, I don't think it was for the sake of it. I don't think it was because of a lack of squad players. It's I'm getting confused now. I always get confused with the Bees as well. Always, would you believe? So who do we play? We played Bournemouth.
Brentford.
You don't get infected with my disease, for God's sake.
Wait till we get on to the women later who played Brighton. That's going to be a nightmare. Yeah, so we played Bournemouth, and you know they're not Brentford. Sorry,
Brentford.
Oh, what is wrong with me? What's wrong with me?
Lauren,
sorry.
shape up.
Yeah, edit this all out. We played the team we played, who they love to mention. We know how that went last season. So I don't think Arteta was going to go into that without a concrete plan, without actually knowing what he was going to do. So I wouldn't worry too much about a lack of depth in the squad based on this.
Well, there's an old saying, isn't it? I think it was Sir Matt Busby about 50 years ago. He said, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And I think that probably comes through there. Brentford suffered Brentford suffered their heaviest home top flight loss for quite some years, sort of many years. I haven't got it down here, forgot to put it in, but never mind, we're having a successful pod. If we'd met this Brentford side last season, the outcome would have been incredibly different with the side we've got now. It's evidence, Jay, isn't it, of increased confidence, depth and progression, in my opinion. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, what was it? I think there was only 4 members of that side that started on Sunday that started in the previous, or the equivalent fixture last season. And I mean, there's the quality has just gone up so much. So many players have gone out in such a short space of time, and the level of the squad has improved so much. But also, you know, the players that are there, I'm sure we'll get onto Xhaka, you know, he's gone up a couple of levels as well. You know, it's not just the players that have come in, obviously they've improved, but the players that have remained have improved as well, and their level has gone up. So, you know, tactically we look so switched on, and we dominated from the start. You know, and you could I don't know if you guys were watching it on Sky Sports, but the commentators, it was almost as if they were just gutted that we were dominating, and they were so. I think it was Don Goodman was the co-commentator, and I mean, he was so reluctant to give us any credit, and you know, it was more to do with Brentford having an off day rather than us completely controlling every aspect of the performance, and we shut them down. You know, we all knew it was going to be a tough place to go. Obviously, Brentford had beaten Man United a couple of weeks ago, and they just we suffocated them, and you know, I think they're renowned for their high press, and they didn't get anywhere near us, and it should have been more. We missed a number of chances, especially you know, early on in the game. Martinelli definitely should have
been about 5, shouldn't it? Be honest.
Yeah, and then you're talking, you know, 3-0 is a great result, but if we come out of there 5-0, you know, it's an absolute mauling. So like I said, the quality in the squad has obviously gone up with the signings, but I think it's also important to note that the players that were there as well that have remained, they've also pushed on, and the levels improved so much that everybody's contributing, aren't they? It's not like there's only one or two players that are making. Obviously, your striker, your central striker, your big money signing in the summers. It's important that he hits the ground running, which he has. Jesus, but your Shakas and your Gabriels and players that have been there now a year or two. Obviously, in Shaka's case, a lot longer. They've also stepped up and they've jumped on the train and they're enjoying it. So the intensity and the quality in our performance now is so impressive that you don't want the international break, do you? You want the next game, and you want the games to come thick and fast. But it was hugely impressive.
I'll tell you what, that old international break, I saw the team that he was putting out. My God, I mean, it's about 64 defenders and half a dozen midfielders. And I was like, that's an embarrassing one. Anyway, 1947, apparently. They've just passed me a bit of paper. I wondered what he was on about. I thought he was asking for some sort of ransom fee or something. But Nick, do you think that Brentford, they really didn't resemble the outfit they were last season, did they, when we kicked off? Very poor, standing off, leaving gaps, pockets of space everywhere. The exact opposite. Were you surprised by that?
I was. I mean, they didn't even resemble the team they've been so far this season. I think going into the game, they had scored more goals than we had, and which is surprising with us top of the table. But knowing that they had scored more than us going into this game, I think just as a credit to them. I mean, they've put up big numbers in multiple games and didn't have a sniff. I think this was the least amount of shots that they had in a top flight game since they've been promoted. So we can talk about Ivan Toney and how he probably deserved his call up, and I'm happy for him. But I think we can also talk about this probably being our most controlled performance of the season, to where I think I've seen others talk about just us needing to see games out, needing us to find just 10, 15, 20-minute periods in games, or we just suck the life out of teams. And I think an early goal will do that for sure. And then once the second went in, I mean, it was really hard to see them coming back into it. I mean, they barely had a sniff, one shot in the first half. It's really impressive seeing things come together. I mean, you can talk about the back line, and you can talk about Saliba, you can talk about Kieran Tierney coming in and deputizing well, and Ben White at right back. I mean, where do we stop? But then, I mean, you can go in the midfield, and obviously starts at the top. The press has been tremendous, and I just saw time and time again, especially in the first half, where Brentford was trying to get out, and we either had Thomas Partey or Granit Xhaka stepping in front of something and we win possession back, or they had to resort to hoofing it long, and you could tell how frustrated Tony was becoming. So it was, to be honest, it wasn't the most exciting game. But it was a very mature performance. I mean, I'll take 3 points any day, but that was the kind of performance that I think we were used to seeing under Wenger, to where you go to a team like this and you take care of them, and it's kind of a stroll in the park, as Ivan Toney said. But
he regrets that now, doesn't he? He regrets that so much.
Yeah, he had to know he was setting himself up for that one. But yeah, I think just a very mature performance, where I found myself last year saying a lot of these guys haven't been in this position. You look at COVID and you look at how young a team we had. I mean, the hostility of Brentford away last season was a baptism by fire, obviously. But this year, we have guys, I mean, went through, you saw it on the documentary, you saw it obviously being supporters all last season. I mean, we've been there, and, we're not veterans yet, but we have a lot of guys that this isn't their first rodeo, and you can tell they look experienced. Like that. Yeah, that's kind of an American saying. So yeah, it's I think just a very veteran performance, to where we really, really nullified what has been so far an exciting Brentford team to watch.
Lauren, it's all gone horribly wrong. What's the score there? What went wrong?
Yeah, 2-2 here now. We're into the last 20 seconds of the game.
Oh dear.
Defending. horrific defending, to be honest, giving them way too much space. We did get a goal from a corner, I think it was. Sorry, not corner, a free kick.
Are you doing a cameo on us now, are you?
I'm trying so
no,
hard.
Jeff,
Do you know
was
what?
it?
Whatever the stereotype is about women being able to multitask, I clearly can't, because I'm trying to focus on you, trying to focus on this. We did get ball did hit the back of the net, but it was offside. So looks like it's going to end 2-2 here, unfortunately.
That's not quite what we wanted, is it?
Absolutely
really?
not.
Lauren, getting back to the Brentford, Bournemouth, whatever we want to call them game.
That one.
Yeah, that one. Do you think that was Arsenal's best performance, solid all-round performance this season?
Do you know what? It's funny. It was the first time for a long time, really, that I was watching Arsenal and I thought, it's a bit boring. At no point did I feel on edge. Did I feel nervous? Did I think, God, I was kind of sitting there going, maybe just concede one so I can feel something, like, obviously joking, but no, it did. It was, I cannot remember the last time we were in such control of a game. Really. It was, it was a joy to watch.
Jay, Bournemouth again. Yeah, there we go. Brentford, we'll get it right. I don't know, it must be a typo or something. I keep reading it out. They had to employ some really desperate defending. There's been a lot of that recently with Arsenal, some real kitchen sink stuff. I'm just so surprised. Let's get on to the goal. William Saliba, talk us through it, Jay. Looping header.
Yeah, the guy's a complete giant, isn't he? I don't know if any of you have seen the clip that's going around on Twitter of when Deschamps has seen Didier Deschamps has seen Saliba for the first time, and he's in awe of just how much of a giant he is, and he's a specimen, isn't he? And we had a corner, I think it was Saka, wasn't it? Popped the corner in, and Saliba ran near post. Great connection on the header, flicked it to the back post, and he's a danger, isn't he, from set pieces, because his movement's good. And I mean, it just adds again to a brilliant start to the season. I mean, he's been better, I think, than most people expected. Defensively, he looks so cool.
I think you said it as well, Jay. It's like a new signing.
Yeah, really is like a new signing. And Tony, he's one of the informed strikers in the league. He scored a hat-trick a game or two ago. Just got a call up to the England squad, full of confidence, and you would never have guessed he was playing. Saliba and Gabriel completely marked him out of the game. I thought, they're both really suited to Tony's, attributes. He's good in the air and he's a physical guy. I thought before the game we'd be okay with dealing with him. So yeah, Saliba, great header, another great performance, and he's the level that he's performing at this season. He's even with the own goal against Leicester, he's still put in a solid 7.5, and he's so strong and he looks so good. I'm slightly nervous about the contract situation with him, and we need to get him tied down, because it's only going to take a good World Cup for someone like the big guns of Real Madrid or whoever to come. Sorry about that. To come.
Could have been worse. You could have farted.
So yeah, great header, and I'm sure he's gonna get a few more.
Nick, Gabriel Jesus popped up. What an exquisite ball from Granit Xhaka. He staggers me. The player we're actually looking at now, and the player that Wenger bought, and everyone was going, this guy's a mystery. All he does is sideways, backwards, sideways, backwards. It was an exquisite goal, wasn't it, really? The flight of the ball was absolutely inch perfect.
Yeah, I just seeing this Granit Xhaka renaissance has been unbelievable. I didn't think he had it in him. I was very much a Xhaka hater, and have done a full 180. Yeah, you as well, Tom. It's been I didn't think he had this side in him. Absolutely not. And I think I've really noticed Mikel Arteta playing him to his strengths, and maybe nullifying his weaknesses by not leaving him as exposed and giving him some free roam up front. And he's really found his way about it. But yeah, what an exquisite ball. And, we're used to him pinging 50, 60-yard balls across the pitch, but him dropping something in inch perfect like that was tremendous. And I'll say this a lot, but that's not a goal that Alex Lacazette's scoring last season. And to have a killer like Gavi Jesus is brilliant. And, it's pretty impressive with Brentford playing a back three with Ben Mee, Pontus Jansson, and why can't I think of the other one? It's just another monster. I can't think of the other one. The other center
back. That's the way
back.
the pod's going tonight. Don't worry.
Yeah, I had to contribute in my way.
Brain fart central.
Yeah, no doubt. But just they're colossal, and especially against a smaller team, especially playing three in the back. I mean, that's bread and butter. It's just to head the ball out like that, and to drop one in between like that was tremendous and a great finish. And like I said, a goal Lacazette wouldn't score, and once it's 2-0, I mean, it's hard to see a way back. We've started off so fast, and when we score in the first half, I'm like, oh, this is taken care of, and especially to get a second, it's like Lauren said, it was just kind of in cruise control from there, and it's exciting in its own way. It's exciting to think, hey, are we there in that capacity where we have that? Because it's been years to where it's like, is this game in the bag, or is Mustafi gonna slip or find a way to ruin this for us?
I used to call him the carpet man. He spent a lot of time on the floor, didn't he? What used to frustrate me about Granit Xhaka was when he played for his country, he was really aggressive and he was, getting forward, influencing the play. And then when he came back to Arsenal, he did none of that. That's what really pissed me off about him. It's probably been done to death, Lauren, but Jesus gives us much more than goals, doesn't he? He gives us
100%.
Motivation, appetite, sharpness. Everyone seems to want to follow in his footsteps.
I'm going to use that again, overused phrase. He has that winning mentality that I think we've lacked 100%. And it's just dripping down through the team. And it really is in a nice way, filtering. That's the word, isn't it? Filtering down. Oh God, guys, it's going great, isn't it?
What about better ones?
Yeah. Filtering down through the team, and it really does look, given or hoping that we keep everyone fit and we have a solid starting 11, even with injuries this week, we look good. We, good enough to bring on a 15-year-old, So, it really does seem like there is just this almost, I don't want to say invincible mentality, but this very resilient mentality in the team throughout, which we've been lacking for how many years, I don't know. But yeah, no, it's a great thing. Fantastic thing.
Jay, Fabio Vieira, 49 minutes. He's some sort of baller, isn't he? He took that opportunity outside the box. It was a peach of a goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love those shots that go in off the post. They just look so good. And I think he's shown, hasn't he? I think when he came on at Old Trafford, he had a couple of shots that he went quite close with, and he was always looking to try and create something. And I mean, what a great player to have as not even as a backup, but just somebody who can come in maybe when Ødegaard he was either injured or he's struggling, because I think he can play in a number of positions, can't he? I think he's quite versatile. He's a bit, he's a bit on the shorter and lighter side, but I think he's already showing that that's not going to be an issue. So lovely goal. I mean, the keeper had no chance. It looks like he gave the keeper the eyes, expecting him to go the other way, and he put it in sort of the near post rather than what most players. And I think the keeper, Raya, who's a good goal, he's a good keeper himself. I think he expected him to go to his right. Lovely finish, and the old song came back out, didn't it? The old Vieira song.
Just put Portugal in there instead.
yeah.
Instead of Senegal.
Yeah.
What I liked about him is he's got that classy, cultured foot. So we really didn't miss Ødegaard as much, but you've got these two classy players, and they can sort of interweave, can't they? He is the 19th Arsenal player to score in his first start in the Premier League, and He is the only one to do so with a strike from outside the box. Don't say we don't try to educate you out there, podcast family. Let's do the match stats. 5 for them, 13 for us, 2 shots on target for them, 7 for us, 36% possession, a monstrous 64% for us, 321 passes for them, 592 for us, and 74% pass accuracy for them, 85% for us. Lauren, we're going on to the Brighton and Hove Albion. It's still Brighton and Hove Albion we played, isn't it? I've not lost my mind.
Yeah, no, it is Brighton and Hove. Yeah, all good there. Watch me say Brentford or Bournemouth at least 3 times, but no, Brighton.
Well, we've all done it. It's like infectious, isn't it? What did you make up with the lineup?
Yeah, so the lineup was obviously this is our opening WSL fixture. We had Zinsberger in goal. We had Weinreuter, so Austrian right back starting. It was her
glad
first
you
start.
said that.
Yeah, don't worry. I did enough years of German to practice to say that one. So that was the real surprise start in the lineup. She went in at right back off the back of her Euros performance. Williamson, Rafaela, standard centre back pairing, and Katie McCabe was in at left back. Quite an attacking left back decision, but given the quality of the opposition, I think it was fairly standard. Midfield of Volti and Kim Little, Captain Kim Little, Beth Mead, Viviana Miedema, and Ford with Blackstenius up front. So, I mean, on paper, probably one of our strongest starting 11s. So I was happy with that.
The sending off after 7 minutes made it almost impossible for Brighton and Hove Albion, didn't it? They were flogging a dead horse, but they lived a charmed life, didn't they, Lauren? God almighty, there was posts and bars and all sorts. And the finishing from Arsenal wasn't too pretty, was it, sometimes?
No, it really took a long time to kind of get up to, 4th, 5th gear even. We didn't even hit 6th gear, I'd say, throughout the match. It was a bit scrappy up top, and I think just having watched the bit of the Ajax game there, that's again where we were lacking today to end up drawing 2-2 against them at home in the first leg of the Champions League qualifiers. So that's something I'd be concerned about. I think, Miedema obviously had a rough time during the Euros after getting COVID. Bit surprised from Beth Mead. Obviously on the Brighton game, she got 2 goals. Standard. I mean, she did come off saying, I would have liked more, and you're kind of going, okay, calm down. But I think tonight, just to emphasize our lack of threat in front of the goal, she probably should have done better with a few of her chances as well. So something maybe we should be a bit concerned about, but two games in, hopefully it'll come with time.
I mean, Megan Walsh played a blinder. You're right there, lads. Have a drink or something and a hobnob. We'll be with you in a minute. Yeah, it looked a bit rusty at times, Arsenal. The engine was moving, but we just lacked that final sort of pass a lot of the time. Let's talk about the goals, Lauren. Little 28 minutes. Blackstenius after 50 minutes. That was a peach of a strike, that
kind of made up for the rest of it, didn't it? I mean, beautiful goal. We just need more of that, really. And she just proved we have the quality to do it. So
Beth Mead got 2, 63rd and 83rd, but her best goal was the 83rd one, in my opinion. Lovely, delicious turn and touch. It was spellbinding. We could, as I said, we could have had a hatful. We could have been a bit sharper. Desperate defending from Brighton. They're not looking good already, are they? I know they were a person down, but come on.
I think, even with the sending off, I think it's probably how the game would have gone anyway, with all due respect to Brighton. They didn't look sharp. They really didn't.
They're not Brazil, are they?
You wouldn't say so, no.
Who impressed you most, Lauren? I liked Caitlin Ford. She impressed me up and down that side flank.
I'd have to agree with that. I think we looked the most dangerous on the left with Katie McCabe and her linking up. When that was where all the chances were being created from in the first half, and then as I suppose Brighton tired a bit, we did get a bit more luck coming in from the middle or the right, but it really was all on the left hand side that the chances were being created.
Miedemar had quite a sort of quiet game, didn't she? But every time she touches the ball, there's a bit of class there. You can see it's oozing from her, isn't it?
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, she had a very rough Euros in the international break just 2 weeks prior to this match. So the week before the WSL was meant to start, she did play for the Netherlands, but she looked winded. She looked tired. She was coughing on the pitch. Wasn't a pretty sight. So hopefully, as we go on, yeah, not really. But as things go on, hopefully she will, get her fitness back and be scoring for fun again.
Jay, I got an email saying that the best part of the pod was me asking you about David Dean's book. Have you seen it yet? Have you had a sniff of the cover or anything?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I'm quite looking forward to reading that. Actually, it will be quite interesting. I'm sure he's got a lot to say after exiting the club, maybe a few years earlier than he expected to. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that.
I think he's kind of what comes across in the bits that I've read from the book is he's still a bit heartbroken. He's still very disappointed about how he left. What he tried to do was obviously compete with the big clubs financially, and to do that, you had to get an outside backer in, a billionaire, bare minimum. And obviously, the board objected, and that's how it came to that. Let's talk about injuries because you were talking about them earlier on. It seems to be rife in the media at the moment. I put a post out on Facebook, please God, no more injuries, especially to Tommy Asu and KT. I promised to donate to the poorly constructed church roof on a Sunday. They're currently getting through 3 a year. Back in 2017, John Moody of the Mirror did an article and it revealed since 2011, the Gunners have seen their players be out of action for an enormous 10,285 days. That was more than Manchester United, 9,600 days. What are we doing at Arsenal? Is it an Arsenal thing? Hey, getting the pun in there. Is it an Arsenal thing? Or is it because there's too many games, they're training fiercely hard, it's a very competitive league, fast pace? What is it, Jay? Why do we have... normally, it's December, isn't it? We get all our defenders all injured at once.
It's not just us. Other teams, Liverpool, for example, have really struggled this season. And they've had to field some sides, that heavily depleted sides. It's not just us. I think in recent years, you've had your Jack Wilshires and your Aaron Ramseys and these guys that have had real bad injuries, which have contributed to obviously the numbers that you just read out. But it's concerning, that so quickly we are struggling. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, we discussed Thomas Partey. He's been a massive problem for us. Somebody who showed against Brentford just how key he is to us, and he's such a massive player that his ball retention and his use to be able to deal with the press in right in the center of the pitch, to deal with the way he does and to keep the team ticking over is so huge. Lokonga's done pretty well, but he's still young and still learning, and he's not at Partey's level. It's not just us. Every team has injuries, but I'm sure it's a concern. And obviously the season's going to get a lot more truncated after the international break, and we're going to have to. There's no doubt we're going to get a lot more injuries. The World Cup's coming up, so that's going to be obviously difficult for the players going, but also what happens to the players that aren't going to the World Cup and how are they managed? There's obviously going to be games played behind closed doors and friendlies and stuff, and the training's going to have to be maybe obviously slightly different. So it's not just us. Every team has those injuries. When you've got a squad like, say, Man City, for example, they've got 3 or 4 great players in each position. So you maybe don't notice it as much. Whereas for us, especially last season, when we lost Tierney and we lost Partey at a real pivotal moment of the season. You know, it was a go-to to as a reason as to why we fell away the way we did.
Well, I think that's one of the comments in social media. Is it says that someone believes that has long believed that the injuries to key players have cost us the title at times, and that's probably fair. I think the worry is, Nick, that we're only a few games into the season, and then you start getting these injuries. It's a massive concern. I know every club gets their injuries, but it is a bit of a worry. I mean, I've got a cast list of past players here. Wilshere, as you mentioned, Jay, 897 days out. Diaby, God, he was on the treatment table quite a bit, wasn't he? Hardly put a pair of boots on, 2,156 days. Arsenal seem, in the figures, to be a bit out of touch with everybody else, Nick.
Yeah, maybe us as fans were scarred by some of these. I mean, we've had some tragic injuries. I mean, the Eduardo, Aaron Ramsey, Diaby, all broken legs. I mean, and maybe those have made us even more jaded towards injuries and thinking we've got it worse than others. But Jay, I mean, you nailed it. I mean, Man City has 3 or 4 deep in every position, and missing 2 or 3 guys is no thing to them. So, yeah, I have a friend that's just a pretty. I mean, he's gotten into the game because of me and a big American sports fan, and he was like, I feel like Arsenal players are injured more. He's like, what's up with the training staff? I'm like, well, this is just how it is. I really didn't know how to explain it. And, you know, as I'm trying to think about it, maybe it's something to where we try to play more younger players and their bodies are still developing. I mean, the injury with Smith Rowe is interesting because Mikel said that, you know, it's his groin that keeps acting up, but it's not an injury. It's because he's growing. And I'm like, still growing. I mean, he's 21, 22, but that's totally in his wheelhouse to do. So I just thought that was fascinating to hear. And you treat that so much differently than you do a Thomas Partey, who I've heard been called Thomas Part-Time on social media. And
Priceless.
And yeah, thought that was pretty accurate because, man, when we have him, we're a different team. But without him, the alarm bells are going off. So, yeah, it's like I said earlier, it's just always something. I think every team that wins the league has to have an amount of luck just on the field, but especially with injuries. You look at the Liverpool teams, them especially, I mean, having kind of a similar model as us rather than City being so deep in every position. I mean, Salah, Mane, their best players playing every single game, always ready for every big game. Whereas looking at us last year, I mean, you can say we fell off the ledge, but I mean, having without critical guys in important build-up positions. I mean, no Tomiyasu, no Tierney, no Thomas Partey. I mean, our build-up was absolutely shot. Had to change our formation, and it was just a cluster trying to put it back and reasonably get something out there. I mean, changing the entire model just off of who you have. So I know Mikel wants a smaller squad, but you see the kind of disadvantages of that already to where it's like, well, a smaller squad. And I think we had 6 guys not make the team that maybe would have previously. And, you know, that's 6 is a big number. So I'm pretty confident we're going to make some moves in January with a January window. It's, I mean, unprecedented after the World Cup. But I think we're going to be back in for at least one, maybe if not 2. So I'm naturally an optimist. So I'm hoping for that. And as I did last year and was very disappointed by that. But, you know, just the injuries they're not going to go away. The amount of fixtures having to be played in such a just shoehorned in there, plus the World Cup. I mean, yeah, Jay, you said it too. The guy's not going to the World Cup. It's almost like COVID. Well, you're expected to stay ready. You're not going to go on holiday. You're expected to stay ready, and then you're going to have to jump back in. So, you know, the World Cup guys will have match fitness, but will maybe be burnt out. And the guys that didn't go are going to be needing some sort of match fitness, which I trust they'll get somehow. But there's nothing like playing in a real game. So will be very interesting to see how that's managed.
Now, I've got one that I want us to go around the table. Todd Bowley, the Chelsea owner, has come up with this idea about a North versus South game because it generated 200 million, something similar in the States. Jay, what's your opinion on this? My point of view, I'll just kick off, is there's too much football. And that's probably one of the reasons that we've got these injuries. We're now having to shift matches. We've got this European nonsense league. We've got that sandwiched in. Then we've got the Euros. Then we've got the World Cup. It's just an absolute nonsense, honestly. Your thoughts?
I'm not massively against it. I saw a couple of suggestions where you could replace the Community Shield. Obviously the Community Shield was renamed. It used to be the Charity Shield. Because it raised X amount of millions for charity. Now, if you replaced that fixture with this fixture that, the All-Star Game North v South, I think that sounds quite exciting, to be honest. It sounds, who would manage it? That would be interesting. I think, look,
I thought there was a disconnect, Jay. I'm just going to jump in a minute because, when you support Arsenal or whoever you support, there's that passion, isn't there? You want to bring that. You love the boys, the group of players you've got. When you've got Harry Kane playing alongside Saka, I suppose it's like an England gig.
England, that's
it's not even with England. I mean, I don't support England as much as I support Arsenal. If you gave me club games or internationals,
absolutely,
I'm there at the Emirates.
100%.
I can't see it generating.
I don't
much
think
enthusiasm.
I don't think at the minute the club rivalry is anywhere near as strong as it used to be. Like years gone by, it was well known that when the England squad met up, you'd have your Chelsea boys sitting together, your Man United boys sitting together, your Arsenal and whatever. I don't think it's like that now. Like I'm the same as you, Tom. Give me club football any day of the week. I am the most plastic international fan. If England are doing well, I've got the shirt on, and if they're not, I don't watch any of the nations games. I barely watch a qualifier. And the international breaks, they just get in the way. That we want club football. That's what we all, that consumes us so much. But look, the question or the idea of an all-star game, I think it's he was like hammered for it, but Bowley was, and I thought it wasn't that bad of an idea as long as you could, because the Community Shield, every time the Community Shield comes around, it's always the team that wins it. It's worth winning. The team that loses in the Community Shield, it's not. It's just a preseason friendly. Well, you could scrap
good point. It's a good point.
You could scrap that and get this in. It'd be quite an exciting. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting to, because there is that divide. There is the Liverpool and Man City, and then the London clubs, and obviously Newcastle are going to improve in coming years, so they're going to obviously contribute. They've already got players that would potentially get in. So I think it's not a bad idea. I don't think it's a bad idea.
It totally missed out the Midlands, though. I mean, the Midlands people, they're going to be very upset, aren't they? Lauren, I thought this was kind of like a precursor to sliding back with the old Super League. What did you think?
Yeah, I didn't really think about it like that. I just thought it was, to be honest, I thought we all know what Todd Bowley's like. Anything he says, everyone's going to brush off. Okay, no one's going to take him seriously until, we'll see how he gets on at Chelsea. But I just don't
hopefully
think
badly.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. Yeah, I just don't think. Everyone thinks he has no idea what he's doing. Hasn't watched a game of football in his life. Whether it's true or not, I can't say. But I have to say, I was kind of similar to Jay. I was like, would it be that bad an idea? It's kind of fun. Maybe see how they get on, and hopefully
Nick,
it doesn't go into.
Is it just me, Nick? Am I the one that's against it for no good reason?
I think I'm more in your boat. I mean, being American, you get it in every sport, and some are better than others. Like the Pro Bowl in American football is after the season, or towards the end. It's before the Super Bowl. Nobody cares. It's just it's more for the players, and they get appreciated. In baseball, the home field advantage in the World Series is actually based off of the All-Star game. So there's actually a huge thing riding on it. But I think it'd be most similar to basketball, to where it's really a cluster of playing styles. The product actually, it's so offensive. It's almost like the charity games that you guys have, Wembley, like the UNICEF I've seen a couple of those, and I mean they're so high scoring. I know there's some celebrities and stuff, but it's it just, I think all tactics and stuff. I mean, it's fun. It's an all-star game, but I think, yeah, my huge worry would just be there's so many games and we don't have other competitions here. It's simply the league and that's it. So you have time. It's not rushed. It's not shoehorned in. You know, you have days off. You have like pretty much a week off to where you'd have usually 2 or 3 games before the all-star game. You have all-star festivities, have the all-star game, a couple of days off, and you go back. So I mean, I'd be all for players having a break, and but I just so many competitions, so many fixtures. I don't know how you would do it before the season. You'd be so worried about your guys getting hurt after the season. It's like these guys need a break. Middle of the season, I mean, it's almost like what the World Cup this season is almost like an all-star game to where your best players are going. And us as club fans, we're like, yeah, we don't really want this right now. So I think the idea is okay, but seeing life as an Arsenal fan, I don't know how it fits in. Maybe it's something that can be worked out, but I'd be too worried about my players playing another game. And one thing I saw proposed was maybe Premier League versus La Liga All-Star game. Here in the stateside, the MLS plays Liga MX, the Mexican league, every year in their All-Star game. And I thought that was more interesting than a north-south and could maybe add some flavor to it. But yeah, I'm pretty against the idea altogether.
Get me Todd Bowley. I think we've got an idea. Nick's come up with a classic.
That sounds more like the Super League idea, though, than the north-south, you know? So I think any way of looking at it, we do kind of, I mean, look, it's a fun idea. Don't hate it, but definitely not feasible. Let's be real.
Well, Jurgen Klopp said, if you can tell me how we can fit that in, I'd like to know. And he's probably bang on. I think what's happened here with the Chelsea owner is it's got a little bit tangled up in communication with the press as well, because the press love it, don't they? It's kind of an unfortunate thing, because I remember when Stan Kroenke took over Arsenal, he said he wasn't there to win trophies. And that's been hung around his neck ever since. I like the idea of replacing the Community Shield or Charity Shield, whatever it's called. And also like that idea as well, Nick, that you came up with there. That's got more legs for me than a North-South. It doesn't really inspire me. It doesn't make me want to buy a ticket or anything like that. It's just like, oh, it's just like 200 million. It's just a money-making exercise. Not that it would generate that either. But let's go on to a little bit of transfer gossip. Apparently, Edu Gaspar has been looking at Jesper Lindstrom. Any ideas, Jay? Jesper Lindstrom? I saw a bit of him on YouTube, and well, they only show the best bits. They don't they? They don't show the bit where he scuffs it over the bar from 2 yards out.
See, I was hoping you weren't going to come to me because I've never heard of him. I've never even seen him. I don't even know what he looks like. I don't know who he plays for.
Jay, this is another David Dean moment, isn't
it? You need to send me these, Mom. You need to send me these if you're going to ask me. You need to send me before.
Well, it just shows that we don't rehearse anything.
I know what
we don't put in much effort, do we, Lauren?
I think that's clear from today now.
Nick, have you ever heard of him?
Apparently I have, actually. Yeah, I have. I've heard of him. I think he's in the Bundesliga now.
Nick's bailed us out, chaps. Let's have a drink.
I couldn't tell you much more outside of that. I think, these links to these players that we don't know just show us that, we thought we scrapped our scouting network, and but we've obviously found a way to identify players that we haven't heard about. And now I'm almost more excited if we haven't heard about a player. Not that it's the hipster thing, but we've seen this with Martinelli and Tomiyasu and even Fabio Vieira probably being the latest one. It's like, ooh, who haven't I heard of that we'll be linked to next? And I hope we get. And it's just an incredible player. So we'll see.
On one of the pods, I just came up with a fictitious name and threw it out for the guys to sort of comment on it, and they sussed me out already. My worry is with any of these transfers in the future is that we're just going to rob ourselves of some talent emerging from Hale End. That's the balancing act, isn't it? Because we've got a good nucleus of players now and some strong talent coming through. Right, let's move on to the possible Spurs game. Could be called off because of apparently a train strike. Jay, have you watched them this season grudgingly? Have you seen them in action or match of the day with the Crisp King?
I saw the Chelsea game, which they were fortunate to get something from. You know, the whole Romero Cucurella hair pull. But no, I haven't seen any more. I think home advantage is going to play a massive part if it goes ahead. And I think we have to go into the game full of confidence. You know, because both teams are doing so well, you know, it almost ramps it up a little bit more, doesn't it? Not that the fixture needs much hyping, but they're doing well, obviously, and we're doing slightly better. So I think home advantage in these fixtures normally makes all the difference. You know, like we need to obviously keep 10 outfield players on the pitch. Can't avoid any red cards. Can't have any Rob Holding moments. You know, because
I'm still really bitter about that because he elbowed Holding in the face, didn't he?
Yeah,
got away with that. That's
but again,
too soon.
Yeah, and obviously there was the penalty.
Not on his birthday, guys. Come on.
There was the penalty in that fixture as well, wasn't there? That Cedric got penalised for it. You know, you don't get that if you're the home team. You know, so look, I'm confident. Absolutely, you have to be. I've got a couple of lads that I play with on at the weekend, and they're Spurs fans, and they said that Spurs, they haven't been that good this season. You know, they've been fortunate to maybe come out with a few more points than maybe they deserved. So if we start the way we have this season in every game, including the game at Old Trafford, if we start on the front foot and we dictate, which I expect us to, especially at home, I think the win is there. And, you know, it'll be a good way to shut up a lot of the media that have said we've had a relatively easy start and we slipped up in our first test. So this is definitely a test. Spurs, I'm not saying for 1 second that Spurs aren't a good side, because they clearly are. And Conte's he's getting a lot out of certain players, you know, like Dyer and, you know, these lads that have pretty average footballers, but he's getting a tune out of them. So it's going to be a tough game, but I expect us to win. Absolutely. You have to. You know, we're in good form. So yeah.
Lauren, I've been quite bored by them, to be honest. At times, I've seen a few of their matches, and they're deadly dull. Everyone's banging on about Conte and what a good manager he is. He is a solid manager, but he's still working with some tosh.
The reason why people are praising him as a manager is because of how poor their performances have been, and they're still undefeated. You know, the games I've watched, they've been absolutely appalling, as in really poor quality football. And you're kind of sitting there scratching your head going, you know, these are the crowd that people are tipping to finish above us, really. Haven't been convinced by them. It does feel like they're getting a lot of luck in their results. So you'd wonder how long that's actually going to go on for. Yeah, I don't know. Also probably worth mentioning that Arsenal women are playing Spurs this weekend as well, which is definitely going ahead. Not sure if that was going to be mentioned, but it feels like a good time to bring it up.
Excellent.
In what is tipped to be a WSL record-breaking match at Emirates Stadium. So I think there's still probably tickets on sale for that if anyone can go and wants to go to that. But that should be a good one as well. So we definitely have that one to look forward to this Saturday.
Nick, do you think that Tottenham are a bit of a two-trick pony? Take Son out, get him injured. Harry Kane, the brutal thug, if he's injured as well. What have they got left?
Nothing. I've watched them, I think, every game this season because I find lots of joy when they drop points. So I find myself always watching them, hoping, and they've just scraped out results. And it's just like, how can they keep this going? It's almost impressive to where it's like a car with three wheels, and somehow it's just continuing to go down the road. And you're just like, how is this happening? And I mean, we talk about injuries and how a couple key ones killed our season last year. If Kane himself goes down, I can't see them having much. I mean, they've added Richarlison into the rotation. I mean, Son didn't even start the Leicester game and came on with a hat trick, but their ability to score lots of goals from limited chances or even low percentage chances is what makes them what they are. You can watch them for most of the game. They're just spamming crosses in. the midfield isn't creative, and you're just like, how are they scoring these goals? And it's just a half chance that they can bury. So I think to me, this game lines up very similar to the United game, to where Trust will play a very high line. And I even think we have the ability to dominate possession, 60-40, maybe even worse than that. And it's just the quality of chances that we get and they get. And I mean, that's what it turns out. But I think that'll play into their hands. So I'm not sure, but I do think we need to play the high line, because as we did with Brentford, can really suffocate them. And I don't think they have the creativity to play out of it. And, if we're healthy in the back, I think I trust those 4 guys with their pace and their recovery ability to play 3-on-3 defensively at times, which I think we're going to need to do.
I think as well, we've got Saliba now, who will definitely strengthen up that sort of left-hand side when they run down. Let's have some predictions. Jay, what's your prediction for that game? Always doing that thing again.
3-1.
3-1, right. Yeah, I'll go with that. That's good. Lauren?
Don't know. I think it depends how the international break goes, injuries, and how players get on for their country. Oh God, 2-1, maybe. I don't know. I'm not confident in that guess, but I'll say 2-1 just for the sake of participating.
What we'll do is, if you get it wrong, we'll just replay it on the next one. As if we've got the technology and we don't have any brain farts. Nick, what's your position?
Yeah, this game definitely does not have a draw written over it, and there's definitely going to be goals. I'm also going to go 2-1. I trust that we'll take care of business being at home. I mean, the Emirates has turned into an absolute cauldron, and I can see that just watching on TV. So I can't imagine. I mean, last season, that was a cracking atmosphere. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like at this point, with 2 teams at the top of the table, bitter rivals. And I'm going to go 2-1.
Sounds good to me. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll get my teeth in, get my brain turned on for the next one. Nick, thanks for joining us. Hopefully you'll come back again. It's been a hoot. And
absolutely.
Look after yourselves.